Thank you for staying with your number one talk station, 95.1 Nigeria Info. Thank you for taking us with you, whether we're on air, whether we're off air, whether we're online or on the street. Speaking of online, make sure that you are following us, you are liking and you are sharing our post across all our social media platform. I'm talking Facebook and YouTube at Nigeria Info 95.1 Abuja, where we are currently streaming live, and the coach will be joining us any second now. You can also join us, or follow us rather, on Instagram at Nigeria Info FM Abuja, and on X at Nigeria Info Abuja. Short, simple. Make sure you go there. Make sure you follow us on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe as well so you don't miss out on any of our notifications, especially when we go live with our streaming. Okay? All right. Like I said, today is Monday. We're currently on the couch. I am mentally, because of the way I'm sitting, I honestly cannot show you just how comfortable I am right now. But I promise you, this is where we like to get comfortable and have those conversations that have to do with love, relationships, and everything in between. Okay? And speaking of everything in between, we started a conversation last week, myself and Coach Mayzy, on gender roles and if they still matter and how they impact relationships, how they impact marriages, and of course the family at large. I'll share a quick story about some children who were in a conversation about how they grew up and how the roles that their parents played tended to affect them years down the line. So you have typically in a setting, a man is expected to be the protector and the provider, right? And so he takes on this role. More than half of the time, you see it, especially here within the society, where men take this on with a certain kind of pride. So men take it a little too seriously, if you ask me. When I say a little too seriously, is that they completely stay within that lane of protector and provider. But is it them taking it a little too seriously, or are they just doing what is expected of them? Traditionally, that is the role of a man, and so he can fill in that place and sit there quite comfortably. A woman, on the other hand, traditionally has the role of nurturer. She's said to be the one to keep the home, to take care of the home and all of that. But these children, they're grown now, but they were sharing from their experiences and how it affected them as they grew older, right? Times have evolved, and so traditional, maybe not as traditional as it used to be. So you have sometimes an intersection of maybe the woman doing a little bit of what is expected traditionally of the man, and vice versa, the man doing a little bit of what is expected. Now, some have said, look, I don't see why a man cannot be protector, provider, and also play his role when it comes to nurturing. And he's not just nurturing the children, he's also expected to nurture his wife as well. You remember what I was saying earlier on about women and how sometimes they are so strong that they've lost every sense of softness in their body. It takes a man to nurture a woman and nurture the softness out of a woman. When you're listening to other conversations in other climes, they're talking about how can you expect a man to be the man of the house when you are trying to take the role of the man in the house. Certain things have happened over time that have caused for these roles to evolve and sometimes interchange, right? So they say, okay, fine, man, protect, provide, but still play your role and nurture to the best you can. And they say, oh, woman, nurture, keep the home and all of that, but who says you can't bring a little something to the table? Again, another one of those conversations that people have had. What do you bring to the table? And you see some women say, I bring my beauty, I bring my worth, I bring my this. And men are like, no, I expect more from you than that. So what do you expect, really? And also when a woman says, well, what do you bring to the table? If the man says, I bring the money, the woman is very happy. But are there other expectations that you have as a woman from this man when it comes to what they're bringing to the table? So, the conversations have evolved over time, and we find ourselves in this place where we're asking, how does it work for you, right? How does it work for you? So traditionally, men provide, protect, stay in that lane. Women traditionally nurture, take care of the home and all of that. But sometimes the problem is where you now find that one is expecting the traditional with a touch of modern. Or how would I put it? You're expecting stay at home with a touch of bring the money. And on the woman's end, she's expecting bring the money with a touch of do house chores, do housework, right? Coach made it very clear last week that if you're choosing one, stay with that one. Let him sort of could do a quick summary on what his thoughts on these things were, and then we'll open up the phone lines to you. Would like to hear what side are you on, okay? Hello, Coach. Welcome. Good evening.
Hello, good evening. How are you doing today?
I'm very well, thank you. How was your weekend?
Yeah, it was very good. Thank you.
Okay, all right. When are you going to send us some light, please? We're planning to overhaul our distribution companies here. When are you going to send us some light? We need to interface on that level. Coach, even if you're not sending us light, you will send us solar with inverter. So when? I need information on that.
If this wasn't an online program, I would have made some comments.
Feel free. I'm not afraid of you.
No, the comments don't bother around you.
Oh, okay.
Around the nation. So let's leave it like that.
Let's leave it at that for now. People, we are streaming. In case you're wondering who has that voice. Coach M is on our streams. Go to Facebook, go to YouTube, join in on the conversation, like, share, comment, and all of that. All right, Coach. We want to hear from the people today, in terms of what they want when it comes to expectations from their partners in terms of roles. But you had a position last week. You could just do a quick summary of it, and then we'll take it from there.
Okay, thank you very, very much. Yeah, and welcome all our wonderful listeners. Good evening to you all. We started this conversation last week and we shared some very fundamental things that I think can form the basis for your understanding or for moderating the conversations. We tried to establish, let me see if I can do this quickly in 5 minutes. We tried to establish that there are different dispensations, right? There is the traditional dispensation or belief system or paradigm, and then there is the contemporary one, or what we also chose to call the egalitarian one, which speaks more about equality, right? And then we said that very fundamentally, what matters is that the two people who want to get married are getting married from the same school of thought. In other words, if the husband is a core traditionalist that believes, as a man, I must provide all the money, all the physical protection, and then the woman has to take care of the home, give me children, put food on the table. If that is his belief, then it's important that the woman he's getting married to also submits to that belief, so that both of them will be very fine and everybody focus on their own area, and there's no confusion at any time, on who should do what. But then, if they are of the contemporary school of thought who say, you know what, both of us are empowered, we went to school, we have our higher degrees, we have our skills, our competencies, and we both can bring money into the home and join resources to run the home, then we're saying that if that is the school of thought you're working with, it's important again that both of them agree on that. But then with that school of thought comes the fact that the man cannot claim to solely or to only be focused on bringing money, and then the woman is doing every other thing around the home front. That contemporary school of thought says that both of us are sharing in the income generation and both of us are sharing in the house chores. So that's a partnership that says, you know what, both of us are here to do this together. It's not, I'm not helping, a husband is not helping his wife to bait the child. No, I'm baiting my child. I'm baiting our child. Do you understand this? So, and for this school of thought, it's expected that the men are somewhat more flexible to be involved in house chores and not leave the cooking, the cleaning, the taking care of the children to just the woman, right? Why? Because both of them are contributing equally. In this case, the leadership is not solely, or decision making is not solely the male, because he's the man of the house. The man consults with his wife, wants to know what she thinks, wants to know, her position, and he considers her point of view very seriously. As a matter of fact, in some areas, he allows her, because that is her area of expertise, he allows her take the lead in that area. You see, and it does not put any threat to his masculinity, it does not put any threat to his manliness and husbandship, right? She still accords him the recognition as her husband and leader in the home, right? So that is the contemporary system. And we said that when there is a challenge, is where somebody who is operating with a traditional mindset wants to marry a contemporary mindset person, or somebody who is operating with the contemporary wants to marry a traditional, and then both of them are not able to agree on their positions or whatever it is. So let me leave it at that first, and then we can continue the conversation.
Great premise, especially if you missed out on the conversation last week on gender roles, basically. And Coach M has says you can look at it from the traditional and the contemporary. Another way to look at it is when you say traditional, when it comes to woman, you're thinking housewife, stay at home, She doesn't have a job that she wakes up and goes to every morning. So another angle for you to get an understanding of the traditional, right? In some cases where the tables are turned, you also see men playing the traditional role, which is they are stay at home, while their wives are the ones that are out doing all of that. These situations are not they are not uncommon, right? So we see that. So when we ask you to call us in and let us know what your preference is and why, we're trying to make you understand that when we say traditional, we also mean stay at home, whether you're a man or you're a woman. So if you're a woman, you let us know what would you prefer, what works or what has worked for you when it comes to gender roles. Give us your scenario so that we can all learn from each other. As a man, let us know. When you say you are of the traditional mindset, it means that you have a stay-at-home wife. You tell her, look, I'll bring in all the money. Make sure that you just take care of our kids. We have so and so number of kids they need to be taken care of. They need their mother and all of that. So that's traditional for a man. So would you prefer that in your woman, or do you not have a problem with a woman who is career driven and says, look, I don't want to stay at home. I want to be able to go out and work. And of course, if she's going out and she's working, chances are that you are going to have the contemporary kind of situation where roles are shared. There's no white or black. Lots of gray areas. She can help with the kids. You can help with the kids. She can do chores. You can do chores because she's bringing money. You're bringing money. And like Coach said, you have equal decision making, or almost equal decision making, because whether you like it or not, the woman will still, or is still supposed to submit to your leadership as the man. So that is the poll that we're taking today. We want you to call in and let us know what is your preference, and if you're already in a situation, what is working for you, and let's talk. Let's have this conversation. We're talking gender roles, okay? 0700951 0000 or 00959748669. On WhatsApp, it's 080999301337. I have Samuel here with the message already. He says, for gender roles, both should fully play their part and also play the part of the opposite sex when the need arises. Okay. Fully play their part, he says, and then also do a little bit on the other side when the need arises. He says it's a partnership relationship, not a master-servant relationship. And in all these, none should be forced to put a stop to their careers in order to play their roles. That's an interesting submission to the conversation, Samuel from Airport Road. Let's see, Coach, help me take this apart, will you? Both should fully play their roles and also play the part of the opposite sex where the need arises. He also says it's a partnership, and in all of this, none should be forced to put a stop to their careers in order to play their role. So from what I'm getting from what Samuel says, there's a little bit of both inside of it. What are your thoughts, Coach? Coach M, are you with me?
Oh, apologies. There was a call I needed to take very quickly. Could you take that question again?
Okay, so I have a comment here. It says, for gender roles, both should fully play their part and also play the part of the opposite sex when the need arises. It is a partnership relationship, not a master-servant relationship. And in all these, none should be forced to put a stop to their careers in order to play their roles. But from the first line, what I got there was that like a traditional mindset? Play your role. So that means there are specific roles for each person. But at the same time, it's okay to do a little bit where the need requires for the other partner.
Yeah, if you recall, last week, I think there was a conversation, there was a thought I shared saying that there are certain things that come to you by virtue of your physiology, right? If the husband and the wife, for example, go to purchase like a gallon of water for their water dispenser, right? Mm-hmm. And then it's on the floor. I mean, who is more likely to be the one to lift it? Let's say they live on the second floor.
It depends.
Wait, I said more likely.
Coach, I was talking earlier on in the show. I was talking about this thing about women who grow up so used to the term, oh, you're a strong woman. There's some women that will lift that thing without hesitation. Like they wouldn't even remember that the man is there. Yes.
No, when they are with their husband.
I said they will not remember that the man is there.
So that one is a serious condition.
They may have already lifted it. And then if the husband was conscious enough, he said, no, put that thing down. It's possible that they will have gotten to the first floor. If then he's remaining the second floor before the man.
That's not normal. Do you understand?
Why?
It may happen, but it's not.
Why is it not normal?
Because for such a weight, especially when there is a man on her, right, the man should or will typically opt to lift the heavy load. So when there's the heavy lifting and there's a lady and a guy, people would naturally defer to the guy. Why? Because it is expected that he has more physical strength for that assignment. I don't doubt that women can be physically powerful, right? And that's a great thing. But where there is such a heavy lifting and there is a man there, I mean, courtesy will demand that the man should take the lead on that, right? Then I also said that for caregiving, especially for at infancy, between the man and the woman, one of them has been provided with a natural source of food for that baby.
So naturally.
Naturally. Do you understand? So when people talk about gender roles, I believe that the first thing they're trying to define is those core specific areas where the male and the female differ physiologically. Okay. Right? But with that, I'm not talking about things like cooking. Cooking is a relevant and a survival skill that whether man or woman should have. All right? So those days, it would have been interpreted, or traditionally, it would be interpreted that cooking is for the woman. But cooking is a skill. Anybody can learn it. You see, so when we speak of roles, what I believe that commentator or that person was saying is the fact that, yes, some of these areas might by default, apply to the man or to the woman for the heavy lifting, for the physical protection and all of that. Yeah, the man will step forward to attend to that. For the default cooking of meals in the house, yes, the woman might step up to that, and caring for the children, the woman might step up to that.
Okay.
But then, remember, he also said that both should be free to take on each other's roles
when
if the need arises.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. All right. Let's see. We have a quick commercial break. Let's come back after that to continue the conversation. All right, we are back. And yeah, let's get back into the conversation. I still have Coach M here with me. And remember, we want to hear from you. So we're opening it up and we're taking a poll and we're asking, which one do you prefer and what has worked for you the most when we're talking about gender roles? I simplify by saying, what would you rather, as a man, would you rather a stay-at-home wife who plays her nurturing role while you bring in all the money, or would you prefer that you have a woman who can also bring money to the table? Sometimes when that gets to that point of the conversation, you now start hearing where they say, okay, 50-50. That part, I don't know. I don't know about that, but perhaps this is what you have experienced, or this is what has worked for you. I would like to hear from you, from the men and also from the women. Would you rather be a stay-at-home wife, or would you? Because, like I said, some women have had stay-at-home husbands, and they're content to go out and make the money and come back. Traditionally, you know that you'll be getting a lot of heat as a man if this was your situation, but we also know that it is not uncommon. What is your situation, or what has worked for you? Let's get your thoughts on it. We want to hear from you people. We're taking a whole poll. Right now, we have just one person who says, look, both should play their part and also play the part of the opposite sex when the need arises. He defers to a partnership kind of relationship. When he says master and servant, we have to define what he means by that, because just because you're in a traditional setting does not mean that it always looks like a master-servant kind of thing. But if I were to take Samuel's summary of Samuel's submission, what I hear is that he is for the contemporary, where both of them can fill in for each other as the need arises, and it will not be a problem. All right, so remember to call in and let's talk. While your calls are coming, I started trying to tell you about a story of some children who talked about how the traditional gender role setting had affected them, and what they want to do when it comes to their own time, when they have their own relationships and their own children, right? And you had one of them who said, look, my father was the provider, right? And he did his role 100% as a provider. But I didn't like the fact that because he was a provider, he would dictate and determine my mother's every single move. When it came to meeting the financial needs of the family, we saw our father as somebody that was, how did they put it? As somebody that was the Lord of Doom overall. Like, he took that provider role, right, and then played it out in such a way that he made it difficult for his wife, he made it difficult for his children, and they grew to resent him at some point. Now, the man must have just been doing what he knows to be the traditional role, and in the process of doing that traditional role, he understood that this is what is required of the people who he was providing for and protecting. Kind of takes me back to the video clip that we played last week, where the young man on the podcast was saying, because I am your leader, I am your protector, I am your provider. What did he say again? He said, I am the law unto you, and every other thing outside is not valid. I am the law. And he also said, because I am protecting and providing for you and playing this role as a traditional man, then you must tell me everywhere you are going and everything you are doing, but I do not owe it to you. I don't owe that same accord to you. I don't have to accord you the same treatment, right? So when I saw this children growing up now, again, like I said, explaining and explaining what was like, going back to that he had, I thought, okay, wow, so you can be traditional, also allow for room for expression within the home. Right? This was an experience that one of them shared, right? So that's why I want to say, some men in playing traditional role, maybe tend to go through it a little bit. We've also been in conversations where men say, because I provide for you whatever you need, I protect and this is the leader that I can afford to do whatever I want outside the home. I can afford to have so and so relationship. I can afford to have this and this outside. You pretty much say, again, I am the law. You cannot ask me any questions. We've seen that as some sort of default mode for some within the tradition, so I don't understand. You should see my phone lines buzzing on a Friday. Now we're talking about how you can come to agreements, with those people that you want me to connect you to and with. And you all are quiet. Let's talk, okay? Don't mind me, I'm joking. But at the same time, I'm serious. 0700 951 0000 or 009 5974 Also on WhatsApp, 009 993 0137. We try to talk a little bit about why this is important when it comes to your choice in a partner and how you choose to progress with your relationship with that partner. It's because these are some of the things that make or break relationships. Right, Coach? All right.
Very
So
well.
let's hear you maybe provide a little more perspective as to why this is important, while we're waiting for people to let us know.
Yeah, thank you very much. So you see, marriage is about agreeability, the ability for the both parties, the husband and the wife, to be agreeable on as possibly every matter as possible. Right? Now, the idea is not that before you get married, you must be 100% in agreement with everything about this person's life. No, not necessarily, but that you are flexible enough and open enough to welcome certain things, to express yourself where you don't accept it, and both of you are able to have mature and healthy negotiations, and then you arrive at a compromise. But the point is, there should be agreeability. And how do you intend to make progress in marriage if you are not seeing the situation and the circumstances from the same lenses, right? So that is why, someone had, off of the session last week, someone called me and said that, we should teach people to adopt the egalitarian paradigm that says that it's partnership and everybody. And I said, yes, good talk, good thinking, good position, but then it's not in my place here and now to tell you that this is better than that. What is in my place to tell you is that whoever it is that you want to marry, make sure you align. Let me tell you why. Because you see, in this day and age, we have seen cases where everyone thought, because these are young people, maybe Gen Zs, Alpha, and you just expect that because they are Gen Alpha, they are by default open-minded and contemporary when it has to do with marriage. But shockingly, when they get married, you hear the man start sounding in a kind of way. And the wife is like, where is all of this ones coming from? Because in her mind, it's still a shock. Like, is this for real? Is this really happening? I've had newlyweds ask me, is this really happening? Like, am I back in my parents' time, or what's going on here? I see that a number of times. And why is that? Because deep down, even though the man tells you, oh yes, I believe in partnership, we support each other, what he experienced growing up has formed in him a programming, a subconscious programming. That is what he truly expects. Now, that one mixed with the fact that nothing shows a man's insecurities as much as when he just gets married. So, oh yeah.
When he just gets married, really?
Gets married, oh yes. Because at that point, it suddenly dawns on him that this is my home, my kingdom. I'm in charge. There's that sense, that weight of responsibility that comes on him at that instant. And then guess what? When he has a wife who is equally empowered and has an opinion, as every Gen Z, Gen Alpha wife would have an opinion. Right?
Gen Alpha wives? And wait, do Gen Alphas have wives? Are they wives?
Oh, yeah.
Gen Alpha?
Oh, yes.
Already?
People are getting married at 19, at 20, at 21.
God.
Oh, yeah. Get used to it.
I'm old. All I'm thinking right now is I'm old. If the Gen Alpha's already getting married. Go ahead, boss. Don't mind me.
So, but they have an opinion, and rightly so. Yeah? So, the man suddenly discovers that he just expected to give an instruction and she goes with it. And then he gives an instruction and she's asking him like, is it me you're talking to like that? And the guy is wondering like, are you questioning my position here? And she's genuinely wondering like, on what basis are you speaking to me like one of your subjects, or let me say one of your reports at the office? This is not your office, Olga. I should be very quick to clear you. Right? Now, suddenly what will kick in? That subconscious programming. How can my wife speak to me like this? Do you know I'm in charge? Do you not get it yet? And then he tries to go all out to exert proof of leadership or proof of
his authority in the home.
Power. Let me put it. Yeah. So what happened there? Initially, when all of these people were dating and having all of those conversations, he felt like it's not a big deal now. Are we not relating freely now? Am I not allowing you to pursue your dreams? Am I not supporting you? But when they get into the home, suddenly there's that realization to the man that, hey, now I need to prove a point. Now I need to show. Now, do you understand? Those are the insecurities I'm talking about that were quietly lying down there and he did not even know they were there. You see, when that time comes, it takes a securely raised man to be able to politely communicate with his situation. Wife. Yes, and address the situation without feeling like his ego has been punctured. Oh yeah. You see, so this is where there's disconnect, because initially they think, don't worry, we'll just flow. I hear people say when they're preparing for marriage, no, don't worry, when we get to that bridge, we'll cross it. When we get there, don't worry, we'll just, and I say, no, better start addressing that bridge now. Because when you get there, there's no guarantee you will cross. Oh yes, you may not make it through. You see, so the point is, that level of agreeability, you people must discuss these things. As a matter of fact, there are men who have told their wives, they met these women in their offices or in their businesses doing great things, and they tell them stuff like, I'm making enough money that can take care of all of us. Once we marry, you will leave that job.
Yep.
You will leave that job. My wife cannot be there telling people, yes, sir, yes, sir. My wife cannot have all these men calling her and entering her DM saying they want to buy product or they want to call her for business. Meanwhile, it's because they like you. Suddenly, and then she's wondering, where is all of this coming from? I thought in fact, you met me on my business. Mm-hmm. You were a client too, right? You met me on my business, and now you're saying I should not do this business anymore. What do you think is speaking there? Is those insecurities?
Let me poke the hornet's nest with this particular point that you have raised now, Coach M.
Go ahead.
And honestly, I wanted to hear from people first. And this is not me trying to knock any belief that you might have, but I'm curious. If you were to take an assessment of most of the men, especially who prefer the traditional stay-at-home wife and all of that, do you think that it is coming largely from a place of protectorship and providing and, just being the man in the relationship? Or do you think that you see it stem largely from insecurities? Because you made mention of it. I'm just curious. For the people who decide that that's what they want, is it really and truly because they want to fulfill 100% their traditional role as the man in the home? Because if it's not 100% from that point, I fear that we will have a lot of men who would say this, that they would prefer the stay-at-home wife and all of that. But then as time happens and life happens to that relationship, right, you may find that, and I'm not saying this is what's happening with all of them, but you may find out that it will still breed issues in the home because they are not really and truly content with bearing the burden 100%.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm asking you because you have experience, addressing couples, dealing with couples and all of that. Where do you think this traditional mindset, especially from the men to their wives, where do you think it largely stems from, honestly, from your experience?
Okay. Let me say this first. Generally speaking, the human is a rational being, and he will always prefer more for less. He would always prefer free for cheap. Right? So in other words, if you can have more money, why wouldn't you opt for more money? Just naturally speaking, if you can have more peace and comfort, why wouldn't you opt for it? If you can live the life you have imagined for yourself, why wouldn't you opt for it? You see, so largely what I have seen is that when men insist that they want to be sole providers, in financial providers especially, in many cases, it would stem from what I would call a corrupted sense of masculinity.
Explain.
Yeah, because these are people who have been raised, domesticated to believe that a man's respect is only earned by his ability to provide financially. A lot of men in this generation are running with this mindset. If a man cannot provide financially, then he's not man enough. Then he does not have respect. And then these are the kind of guys who are very humble when they are broke and without job. And the moment they get a job, and a good paying one at that, oh my God, you will not believe this same person. Because now he believes I have gotten into my masculinity. Now he can order his girlfriend around because he's sending her some money. Because, there's just that cloak he wears now. It's like, this is that point I've been waiting for, right? And it's a corrupted sense of masculinity because your masculinity should not reside or be premised on the size of your wallet. No, it shouldn't. So what happens if at some point your economic source is cut off? Maybe you lose a contract or you lose that job or something happens and you no longer have money. These are the same men who will feel like if their wives are empowered, then she's no longer going to respect them. I'm sure that's another school of thought thoughts you've heard around, that all these ladies that have money, that are rich, they cannot respect their husband. Can their husband control them? Can man control this one?
I mean, there have been instances where we've seen that play out, though, Coach. So would you
those
blame
things
that?
happen? No, of course, those things happen. All right, that there are a few of those elements, or that there are several of those elements, does not mean that every woman who is financially empowered is automatically rude and not submissive to her husband. You get that? There are several examples of powerful women who still tell you that they are having wonderful relationships and submissive relationships with their husbands, right? So that's why I called it a corrupted sense of masculinity, and it's also tied to the insecurities I spoke about earlier. Because, see, listen, what makes you a man is not only your ability to provide money. Are you generally resourceful? Are you hardworking? Can you take decisions? Can you rightly analyze situations, come up with right decisions? Can you provide emotional stability for your partner? And I dare say this, and some people will not like it. Do you even know that if you are the groom of the bride, then you are to make her blossom? And that blossoming can even be more beautiful or more empowered than you are. Oh, yes. And it does not change the fact that you're still the husband and leader. Why? Because you are the wind beneath her wings. You're the one giving her all the support she needs to fly and express her emotion, her potentials, right? And be a blessing to humanity. And you are giving her all of that support. It's not out of place. That is what it should be if you're taking very good care of your woman.
Isa.
Yes, please. I know I caused problem with that.
So let's backtrack a bit. Let's just a little bit. If a man's ability to be seen as the man of the home is not premised largely on his ability to provide financially, what else can he provide that will allow him to be seen as the man in the home? Again, we're speaking to the traditional mindset how.
Sorry.
Are we repeating? Are we? No. Okay. Oh, you want to ask me a question based on what I just asked?
Based on what you just said, yeah.
Let me finish. Okay. Because again, we are speaking to the traditional mindset. And I had started by asking a question. Me, myself, I said, let me find trouble. I said that, oh, coach, I said, oh, God. Your trouble has taken over my trouble. Okay. Bottom line, let me go. Because I was saying that in the traditional mindset, is the people who go for this mindset, especially the men, is it based off of their actual feeling of I am a man, or is it stemming from an insecurity? And you've given your example that a man's ability to be seen as a man is not premised on his ability to provide financially. So when you look at the traditional role, and he's called protector and provider, or provider and protector, what else is he providing if it's not the money?
Okay, good. Let me answer it straight up. Beyond finances, beyond money, the man present, I talked about vision, I talked about decision making, right? That's part of his provision. I talked about emotional stability, right? That is part of his provision. You see, but we're very quick to bring it all down to naira and kobo. And I'm saying that it's beyond that. It's beyond that. Okay, you're providing the money, and then you're hostile to everyone in the house. And then when you show up, everyone is walking on eggshells, including your wife, and the children. Come on, that's not adequate leadership in the home. So the fact that you have provided a roof over their heads and money for upkeep and all of that, does that turn you to a home terrorist in your own home? You see, so in that case, it's not balanced. The point is, while you're providing money, if you are the sole provider of money, the home should also be a place where when you show up, there is that ease, there's that balance, there's that comfort, there's that assurance that daddy is here, right? There is that sense of peace and safety because daddy is here. When there's need for someone to go out in the dark and maybe turn on the generator or something, they're not confused about who we did, because daddy will typically pick up that his big torchlight and go outside and sort out what needs to be sorted out. When someone is knocking on the gate at night, you're not thinking about who is going to check, because daddy will typically use that his strong voice. Who's that? And that gives some level of safety to the people in the house. So it's not just the money. What about the emotional support? Go and pursue your dreams. Go and be all that you can be. The children are in school. They're preparing for exam. He's there. He's doing assignments with them. He's teaching them this. He's doing that with them. And then they go and excel in school knowing that daddy is rooting for them. Do you get it? That is also part of provision. Right? So what about spiritual guidance? You see, so I would just leave it at those 4 points I mentioned, right?
Okay.
I talked about, what was the first one I even said? Okay, well, particular order: spiritual guidance, emotional stability, right? Vision and direction for the home, and then decision making. These are part of the package of provision, right?
Okay.
So it's not just money. That's what I'm saying.
All right.
Yeah, the home at the end of the day needs to be a functional place where there is peace, love, and safety. If all of that is lacking and you're bringing money, then I'm saying that you're not doing a complete job.
Okay.
All right, whether traditional or contemporary. Right? So what I wanted to ask you when you were speaking, then you said something like, for him to be seen as a man. And the question I wanted to ask you is, who seen as, in whose lenses, in whose eyes? In the eyes of his wife or in the eyes of society?
I think it's everything. In the eyes of his wife, in the wife's society, because even in instances where the woman sees her husband the way she sees him, as somebody who might not be bringing up to 60-70% of the income to the home and everything, but he still takes on that traditional role of, oh yes, I am the man, let me do my part. You get. And again, when we speak to traditional on the part of the women, it's possible that the woman can be a stay-at-home wife and still be able to do something in terms of income. Her not being contemporary means that she's not going out, while her husband is going out, she too is going out. So you can be traditional and still be able to nurture and play your role as homekeeper, keeper of the house, and all of that. You guide and all of that, while still contributing some form. But it is not that your financial contribution is now going to be seen as bring it to the table, let's split it and share. No. so
So,
so I just wanted to make sense of that traditionally. And so it's possible that that's happening. The man is playing his role as he's playing it, and maybe he's not bringing in that much, but she sees him as the man. But in the eyes of society, and even in the eyes of the man himself, he's like, nope, I'm not man enough. I'm not living up to my potential. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. So does that answer your question? I think in everybody's eyes, he may not be seen as man enough.
So that shows you that there's a pressure that society has put on the man to attain a particular level of performance in the home front to validate his leadership. You see that? And take note, this pressure is, while the man is the one carrying the pressure, in many cases, the women also believe that expectation and impose it on the man too.
Word. True.
You see that? So that is why the men just believe, oh, I have to be breaking my back, or I have to just go all out. But see, the times are changing. And let me emphasize this. The times are changing. A guy can leave school, get a job, maybe a decent job he's earning in Nigeria, maybe he's earning 500K a month. And his girlfriend, who is still in year one when he started working.
Did you call that decent? You're at top of the food chain. 500K a month?
Okay, sorry, 250K. Let's leave it at that. But I'm going somewhere.
Sure.
And then this girlfriend, who is in year one when he started working, by final year, is doing some gigs online and is earning $2,500 a month. That has already floored Oga's 500K NIT. That's the age we're in. So does that mean that Mr. Traditional will tell her to quit all of those things she's doing and so that his 500K can provide for them? What happens to all her talents? What happens to all her gifts? What happens to all her graces? What happens to all her skills? She should drop them because she wants to marry a man. You see where there's going to be a problem? Or even if they get married, is he going to now tell her that now that we are married, every money you're making, come and submit it at my feet because I'm your Oga? You see, there is going to be problems.
Okay. Quick break. Quick break. We'll go for, and then when we come back, we will wrap up the conversation. We still have some time on the stream, and we have one or two comments that have come in that I'd like us to address. All after this break.
More conversation, more talk, more right after this.
AKA the stay-at-home partner or the contemporary or the career-driven partner. And the phone lines have been open. We've got a few comments here. Some people just checking in, like Jalilo Yewumi, who is saying, good evening, well done work. Hafsat Mwazu saying, good evening, Somi and the guest. And also Francis Omaga Namani, who says, I'm watching live from Amagunze in Enugu State. Good evening, and your guests, keep up the good work. All those came in on Facebook. While on YouTube here, I have Idoko Godwin. Good to see you again, Idoko. He says, I've missed the show. because I just got back from international trip. Whoop whoop! What did you bring? He says he's writing in from Anagada now, formerly in Kwankwashe in Matala, and he says I prefer a career woman as a wife, but she should be able to balance between her family, work, and her career. I prefer a career woman, but she should be able to balance between family, work, and career, which brings me to a very valid point. If we're looking at what happens in the contemporary sort of household, it's not without its own challenges as well, because sometimes in the bid to balance it out and have that partnership kind of arrangement going on, sometimes lines get a little too blurred, and it could be that one person can shirk on their responsibilities altogether. How do you balance out that kind of situation? Coach M is here with us, and let's get back to the conversation.
All right. Thank you very much. I remember something I mentioned last week, and I would come back to it.
Okay.
The concept of oneness in marriage. The concept of oneness. And I said that if people understood that concept, many of the issues and the conversations we're having about this one did this and that one did that would not even be happening. In marriage, the two of you have become one. Both of you have become one. Let it be established. Ideally, irrespective of who is earning the money, it does not belong to me or you. It belongs to us. Ideally, there should not even be that thing of it is my own or it is your own. It is for us. We are one. Ideally, if you as a lady who is empowered and making money, if you don't believe that your resources should also be for your husband, then please don't plan to get married.
AKA your money is our money and my money is my money.
If that's what you want to believe, we just pray that the man you remarry as a lady is an odogu that has all the money to cater for you and doesn't need you to contribute at all. And that will be great. There's absolutely no problem there. Absolutely. If the husband can provide entirely, there's absolutely no problem there. That's great. But is that the reality for the average person right now? Is that the case? Right? With the way things are in the economy, that's why I said earlier that the human being would always need more for less, would prefer free to cheap. Right? So long as that home could use additional resources, they will definitely embrace the idea of earning more money. And that means both husband and wife bringing money in. Right? But if you people cannot harmonize in your finances, please, if you know you have that stronghold in your mind, please don't get married. Because this money matter is a major crisis. It's a flashpoint for crisis in marriage. It's a major one. If you cannot share, if you cannot assume that, I know a man who the only way he dealt with himself in this area was that when he received his salary, he forwards everything to his wife and say, manage it on our behalf. That was the only way he could deal with himself, to say, you know what, I'm trying to understand to myself that she is me and I am her and we are one and we are together on this. So I don't care. I trust her decision making. I trust her wisdom. In fact, she will do a better job at managing this money than myself. So you know what he does? He receives his salary. He forwards everything to his wife and say, run the house. So, and then when he needs money, he will tell her, okay, this is what I need money for. She will cut out small thing. Yeah, go on.
What do you want to call that one, Coach M? Is that traditional? Is that a traditional standpoint? Or how do we categorize that? I've heard similar things before.
What happened there was an example of a man who is telling himself, I have to do something drastic to overcome that traditional thinking that I have to be the decision maker financially because I'm the one bringing the money. Do you get it? So he had to do something that would just make him know that, okay, the fact that I'm now I'm going to have to depend on my wife to run the finances, that would help reshape my mind and remind me that both of us are one. Because again, man or husband, man, why did you go and marry a woman that you cannot trust to manage finances. How did you marry her? Why did you? That's the thing. Do you know there are men who would prefer to marry a lady who is obviously way below them in everything, in status, in education, so that she cannot make any contribution and she has to depend on them.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand? There are men who do that because that is what they want. I don't want you to be able to contribute when I'm talking. I give you instructions. I tell you what to do. I provide for you. You see, but then they are the ones who go and look for brilliant, intelligent, empowered women and marry them. And then you now marry that one and you cannot trust her enough to run the decisions of the home, especially if she's better at it. There are women who are running complex offices, running complex positions, even having a lot of men under them, taking brilliant decisions, saving companies of against losses and achieving bottom lines, right? Then that woman will now have a husband in the house who believes that she does not have what it takes to take decision when he's talking. Can't you see there's already a mismatch and there's definitely going to be problems? Unless she knows how to leave all of those, her leadership cap outside, come home and just be dumb so that your husband's ego can be inflated.
There's another word they use for it. They call it, she will come home and be submissive.
No, that one is not submission. It's subjugation. It's not submission, it's subjugation. That's what it is. If not, why should a man not be comfortable enough to say, this woman that is running things out there in the office, why can't I trust her to run the affairs of this woman? I trust her decision making. Do you understand? But he just feels like I have to flex my muscle in this area to show that I am the man. You see, that's why I told you it's a corrupted sense of masculinity, it's insecurity, and society has not helped in putting this pressure on the man and putting that belief in the woman to say, it has to be him. I hear women say this too now. I can never contribute rent for my husband. Yeah, is he not the man? Let him go and bring the money. And when I hear those, I just laugh. So many times it's single people that are saying these things. I just laugh. You never even get husband. Wait first now, get husband. I will never be breadwinner in my home. Don't worry now. Marry first. Marry. Then let life happen. And then it happens that your business, okay, look at what happens. A man is working in a bank, earning maybe 400K a month. His wife was just doing one menial thing, earning 80K. And then she gets a job in a sector where entry level is like 750,000. Entry is like 750,000. And by just that singular step, this man has been working here for years and has managed to rise to the point where he's now saying 400K take home every month. Now his wife is just entering another completely different sector with a completely different payment structure, and it's at 750K take home. If they were not already won in their finances, that singular promotion is going to cause issues in that home.
Yep.
Because now this man who has felt like you have to depend on me for your needs to be met suddenly realizes that she can sponsor him. What's going to happen? So now when she says, I just went to get us food from, as I was coming home, I just thought it would be too late to start cooking. So I just decided to order in something from any restaurant. He's going to be like, so because you have money now, you think you can I don't want to eat it. Come and cook my food. So he will start looking for necessary trouble. Because he needs to show that I'm still the one who should take the decision. So why can't you allow her to take that decision? And then she begins to tell you things like, we may need to consider the services of a domestic staff, so when I'm not around, somebody can help clean the house, do this, do that. I say, no, you're my wife. My father did not have a domestic staff. My mother did everything. Yeah. Come on, what's going on? So you will now see that even though he was claiming to be contemporary since, when the true test of it shows up, that insecurity I spoke of will show up in the limelight, and then you discover that he's now uncomfortable. And then some men start suggesting to their wives to leave their work for no good reason, just so that she can come back to the point of dependency on them. But this was somebody who told her, I promise you, I will support you, don't worry, just do your thing. And he was saying all of that simply because he was making money. And no matter what she was doing, he was still earning more than her. But the times have changed, especially with leveraging on the internet, especially. People can sit down at home, she will be your housewife, yes. But when she shows you what she's doing
Okay, all right. I think that the stream just came to an end, but our conversation, we still have a few more minutes with Coach M before we have to wrap it up. So we'll just take a super quick break, and then when we come back, Coach M will finish off his thoughts, and then we'll wrap it up. I just remember a story of another newlywed couple, and this they're not even Nigerian, they're not African, but the conversation around the influences of their parents and their upbringing, how it affected them as well. Two contemporary young people, man and wife, and really and truly they were okay with, oh, he's working, she's working, we'll come together, pull our resources at the end of the day, and we'll see where it goes. And then there was a particular incident that happened, and you could tell that in the young man's heart of hearts, what he really wanted was to replicate the system that he had grown up in his home, right? He really and truly admired the way the relationship between his mother and his father were. So much so that despite the conversations that he has had, and he said, okay, yeah, let's do this contemporary thing. When when it came down to brass tacks, what really he started to show was somebody who would rather the traditional mindset, and it was so intense with him that at a point he wanted his wife to become best friends with his mom, so that his mom can teach the wife how to serve him the way she served the dad. Meanwhile, they had a conversation. I think it was one of these Gen Alpha people who Coach M was making reference to earlier when he said, look, people they're getting married this young, and they're in the era of you can't tell me nothing. And so the wife said, what? Never will I have the kind of relationship that your mom had with you. And not because it was bad, it's just because it didn't align with her values, which I think brings us back to what Coach M has been saying since. You want to look at alignment in values, but at the same time, another key aspect is you want to make sure that there is oneness within that home. I'll take this quick break. When I come back, we'll wrap it up with Coach M.
The hub for information,
Current affairs and more.
The president used his last Democracy Day address to talk about several issues, including security.
It is this same government that they started it. They don't obey court order.
Join the conversation.
right here.
Let's talk. Wake up to us. Go to bed with us. All day and through the night on your Let's Talk station 95.1 Nigeria Info. Let's talk. Let's talk.
We are in a time where people yearn for information.
Information is quick. The larger the reach, the better.
Bits
Pieces.
and the whole. All the details right here on Nigeria Info.
Let's talk. Welcome back to Tonight with Somi.
All right, we are back to wrap it up with Coach Mayzy at this time. Hello, Coach.
Hello.
Yes, welcome back. All right, let's get your concluding thoughts. I was just sharing a story of another young couple who had the same conflict in terms of agreement when it came to the roles. Young couple, Gen Z Alpha-ish, who agreed on contemporary, but then you had the influences from the young man's upbringing coming to make him see reason to change his mind at some point, and to the point that he wanted his wife to be very close friends with his mom, because he loved the way his mom served, and attended to the needs of his father. And he was like, look, come and be close friends so that you will just be learning directly. And the girls were like, not on your life. No. And it was such a bad fallout from this new couple because of that lack of agreement. So thank you. I mean, you've spoken to a number of issues on this. I hear you also when you were speaking to oneness, and that oneness would apply whether it is the traditional or whether it is the contemporary. And that is one of the biggest takeaways, I think, as we bring this conversation to a close and as we wrap it up when it comes to gender roles and its impact. But let's get your concluding thoughts on it.
Thank you very much. While there's a lot to say, I'll just try to emphasize a few things.
Okay.
One of them is that for those who are not yet married, it's important you seek the services of seasoned premarital coaches. And good thing there are a lot of us right now. There are a lot of us, right? If you don't know how to find us, just go on Instagram and type relationship coaching, marriage counseling, premarital coach. You will see a number of options, right? And if you don't know any other person to talk to, then feel free to reach out to me on my handles. Why am I saying this? There is a whole lot of learning and unlearning that needs to be done in preparing for a successful marriage. There is a whole lot. A whole lot. A lot of people take things for granted when it has to do with marriage. They just expect it to work. On what template? On what template? How is it just supposed to work? What works like that? Do you put food on fire and just say it will just, the ingredients will just put themselves and it will just mix, and when it's done, it will just go off and it will just be perfect? No. Nothing just works like that, just being left to itself. Nothing. So when people don't prepare for marriage at all and then just believe that I have fallen in love and that now I marry somebody, I will have a beautiful home, I think that's a very high level of delusion. All right? I'm here to emphasize that people need to learn. And if you use the services of seasoned coaches, these are some of the things they will guide you through. To have these conversations, to check these levels of compatibility, right? They will help you check what really matters. They will show you areas that you were not even typically thinking of on a normal day because probably you are consumed by affection, for this person. Yeah, so that's what I really want to emphasize for this matter, right? There are people who don't even know that they are operating on the traditional mindset. They think they are contemporary until they get to that point where they start placing certain demands on their wife. And then they just discover that, wait, I'm just behaving like my father right now. Oh, yes, you would naturally behave like your father if you have not acquired different skills to be able to behave differently. So just to wrap it all up, like I said earlier, what I emphasize for people is to marry someone whom you share the same belief. If as a woman you say, I don't want to work, or all I want to do is cook for the family, clean the home, raise the children, take care of my husband, if that is what you want to do, good and fine. Marry a man who also believes that that is what the woman should do. Don't go and marry a man who will say, oh yeah, send your CVs out. Oh yeah, you're not doing anything. You're sitting down. You're too lazy. Go and find work.
You're not contributing to the home. I've seen families that broke apart because of that. The man got tired and said, I can't be with somebody who is not driven.
Oh yes, exactly. And then again, these are reasons why we emphasize those conversations and not just being carried away by romanticism or sex, as it were, because those will cover up a lot of areas that you should be paying attention to. At the end of the day, when you are married and in the home, you suddenly discover that I can't even have certain conversations with this person because they don't listen.
Yeah.
But if you are trying to have the conversation way back and you guys are not bouncing on the bed, you would have discovered that this person does not listen to conversation, and then you would just say, I can't do this. Right? So again and again, I just want to emphasize the need to have the proper conversations, get the services of premarital coaches. Let us help you. Part of the things we help people do is to demystify all of those disempowering mindsets people have about marriage. A lot of that is what we're dealing with in this traditional system, right? We have to demystify all of those things and just help you see whether you really still want to go with it or whether you want to choose a more empowered thinking, right? At the end of the day, whoever you want to get married to, make sure both of you align in your paradigms, in your values, in your worldview about marriage, about life, about roles, about purpose. Make sure you align there. If you align, then you should be fine, all things being equal. But if you don't align and you are thinking that it will just work, then you're deceiving yourself because there will be issues. Yeah. So that will be my closing.
Thank you so much, Coach M. I'm going to re-emphasize again, especially for those who are looking to lock down this marriage thing and lock it down tight and make sure that they get it really, really well. And that's not to say that all things will be perfect, but even when there are storms, you will have a certain sense of peace because you've asked the right questions. That's why it's important for the premarital counseling and the coaching and all of that to happen. Sometimes there are things that you don't even know that you're supposed to ask. And we've tried to do this series where we're saying things you should ask, conversations you should have, which has led us here as well to the gender roles and all of that. But perhaps we've not touched on everything in its detail, and we'll need to start on something else next week. Reach out if you need clarification, if you need more information about what to ask, and what not to shy away from. So Coach Mayzy is CoachMayzy across all social media platforms. You can send an email, you can meet him up on Instagram and the likes, or you can send me an email as well, whichever you prefer. Okay, if you want to send me an email, it's somi@nigeriainfo.fm. Get clarity, be sure. Don't be like one of those people who then ends up in this place where they're just disenchanted and dissatisfied with the entire idea of marriage, which in its purest form is one of the most beautiful things you can ever have. But it can only be beautiful when you know how to approach it properly, ask the right questions, know what to be in agreement with and not what to be in alignment with, and what works for you and what will work for you long term. Thank you once again, Coach M. Much appreciated.
Thank you very much.
All right, have a lovely night.
Yes. Yeah, thank you too. Bye for now.
All right. And there we have it. Our conversation on the couch today, bringing us to the end of this series on understanding gender roles, which is also part of the conversation around what to know and what to ask before you get married. Some of these things have been glossed over so many times, right? And so you find yourself in a position where you're just at a loss, or you're constantly trying, and you just find out that you're adding 2 + 2 every time and expecting 8. Meanwhile, you'll always get 4. The time is 11:20 p.m. That brings us to the late night request show, the Monday edition, where we're keeping it bluesy and we're keeping it soulful. So you can start sending in those song requests now. Let me know what it is you want to listen to along that line or within that genre, and I will play it for you. We're going to do that for another 20-25 minutes thereabout, and then we'll come back and we'll wrap up the Monday edition of the show. Special thank you to everybody who contributed in on the conversation, who called in, who sent messages, who listened, whichever way, whatever manner that you choose to participate. We love you. We appreciate you so much. Okay, I will be right back after this.
Mm-hmm.